Okay, sitting here with Miss Kate Torralba. Thank you for being here. Let's start from the very, very beginning. Is it true that you were a child prodigy on the piano and actually went to New York to perform when you were 4 years old?
Maybe this story is better said this way. I was 4. I lived with my grandparents and my mom and my uncles and my aunties. And every Saturday afternoon, 4 of them would take piano lessons.
Okay.
And then they all learned the same piece.
Okay.
Which was Moon River. So, and then I would be like, oh, I want to play piano. And then they would be like, no, you're a baby. You're still a baby. When you're a big girl na. We lived in a 2-story house. So there was like a mezzanine. Very vividly, I remember that there were like, I would be on the 2nd floor holding the rails and looking downstairs, and they were all learning Moon River. And supposedly one day, I just went up to the piano and played the whole thing by ear. And then kind of
No kidding.
Yeah, so I kind of freaked out my family, and they asked, oh, should we have her take lessons? And somebody advised, just have her wait till she's like 7. So I had my first piano lesson at 7. I went straight to classical. I picked up reading notes very quickly, and then I was doing the usual recital thing. And then there was a call for some young Filipino musicians to be flown to LA, not New York, for a concert. So it was like young Filipino artists in concert. And I was chosen to play piano. And so I played my first concert in the Japan American Theater at 9 years old. And I was offered a scholarship in a conservatory, but my family felt I was too young to actually take the scholarship. So I guess I was a child prodigy. I was just a very small girl. I could hardly reach the pedals, but it was very natural. Aside from how rigid classical training is, I would play 5-6 hours a day. I also had a good ear. I was always the little kid who would be asked to play or sing at parties. And so I developed my ear for kind of a widow. I eventually dropped classical music because I discovered Nirvana. and like, okay, this is not cool. I don't have recess. I don't have lunch break. I'm just playing piano. I had an older brother who was into new wave. And then my grandparents were into the standards. My uncle was into the Beatles and Crosby, Stills and Nash. So I was exposed to a lot of different kinds of genres. I just really, really loved music. I was always the kid who was singing to herself. I just never thought that I would eventually pursue music as a career. And then, I'm in my 30s now and I'm actually doing it. So it's kind of cool. Everything kind of comes full circle.
But what happened next? I mean, so you have this great experience, you travel, you're relatively successful, as this 4-year-old kid. So what happens?
I went to high school, so I came from a little private school called St. Benedict. The school directress, Ms. Ibanez, was my private piano teacher. I guess, when you're in your teens, you kind of rebel and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore,
Right.
And especially my mom was kind of very rigid, making sure that I would practice. And she didn't even play piano, but she would hear every false note. Every time my fingers would slip, go back to the beginning. And I'm like, what? You're in the 2nd floor? You're inside your room and the door is shut. How can you hear this? But
maybe that's where you get it from.
Maybe.
That ear.
I'm such a perfectionist. When you're in your teens, you start questioning, do I have to do this?
Right.
I just wanted to do something different. I felt that I was not cool because I was the girl who was always behind the piano. So, I picked up the electric guitar. I learned the power chords. Next thing I know, I was in a band called X. We played Nirvana and the Breeders, and I was the only girl in the band. I don't know, next thing I know, I was in another band, The Outskirts. It was an all-girl band in our hometown in Cebu. We were kind of sponsored by the local music school. So we were cutesy, all girls playing covers. Then eventually I had Hard Candy, which was I guess it was an important part in my musical development because that band had me as a front woman. I played the violin because we were fans of the Course.
Wow. Is that how you started writing songs? Was that where it all began? Or had you, as a 10-year-old girl, had you written...
I was always making up songs in my head.
Okay.
But I just never really committed to things. I never really wrote them down until I went to high school. I wrote some stuff for, school events. I was studying in St. Teresa's in Cebu. And I wrote like some drug week jingle, which was the girls who sang it, the girl group that sang it, they still remember the words. Girls, you should like do a YouTube video. I would like to hear that. When I graduated from high school, I got like a special citation for songwriting, but again, I didn't think I would pursue it. It's like the next chapter of my life wherein I wrote songs was like with Hard Candy, because we joined the contest. I had to write something. We joined all these competitions. Like we won a contest by Channel V, and then San Miguel sponsored a huge music competition in our region. We basically won it, and then I won Song of the Year. So weird. It still gets airplay in Cebu now.
No kidding. You guys recorded it.
I wrote a song called Free Fall with my bandmates. And I still get requests for it sometimes. Every time there's a Cebuano at my gigs, they're like, can you play Free Fall? Oh, wow, okay. We were contemporaries with Franco.
Really?
Franco and Sheila and the Insects. So we did like a tour in the Visayas. Gabby Alipe of Urban Dub actually was not even in a band yet. He was like a PA. It's so trippy that he would give me water like at the gigs.
Yeah.
And he would call me Ma'am Kate until now. Gabby, stop calling me Ma'am Kate. It's
Yeah, he does.
embarrassing.
I've heard him call you.
We won a recording contract, and then life happened. I didn't get to pursue that because I got a job here in Manila, which was working in the Senate, which is very weird. Yeah, I got
It's a big jump.
Yeah, I got a job offer from like Lauren Legarda herself. I met her at some youth forum. My life is a very peculiar one. And it's really just, it's like, what? And then, yeah, even I'm like, what the hell is happening to me? But I've just always been the type to just grab the opportunity, ask questions later.
Okay.
I always follow my gut. And true enough, like, there was a beautiful, amazing life for me in store for me here in Manila.
Okay.
And then I became a fashion designer. It's
Right.
another story. I don't like this. This thing we bought in White Gold department store. It's too plain. I want my Barbie to wear something with polka dots and a poodle.